I think a couple of years back we moved a product in Noida. We sold 500 units in I think 60 days. It took the developer 120 days to do BVAs for those 500 units. This is a classic example of how archaic most of the developer ecosystems in the country are. Yes, the top 10 guys, which unfortunately are only 4% market share of the country, have done a lot, I think including L&T have done a lot on the tech space, whether it comes to the construction property management, construction cycle, whether it comes to the pre-sales management, ERPs, Salesforce, so on and so forth. But bulk of the sector, 95% of the sector at least, still runs on Excel sheets. And it's not a joke. You have to walk across, go to the CRMs of the developers, you'll be shocked how archaic these processes are. But the good part is what we are experiencing on our day-to-day dealings is the younger generations of most of these promoters is far more amenable, far more receptive to integrating technology in their processes. And we are on the tech product, which enterprise product we are seeing a significant traction from the new breed of the developers rather than an old traditional guys on the ground. I think it's across the value chain, how it will impact. Like Tushar mentioned, customer acquisition will play a critical role, especially because the affordable segment is very, very retail. It's not the traditional relationship-driven buying model. These are millennials who will go online, look for the houses online, do comparative market analysis online, and possibly would buy. So that plays a critical role. But more important than that, technology has to play a far more critical role in the overall urbanization, smart city planning, infrastructure planning, bringing the various pieces of puzzle together, and more so in the affordable segment rather than a large affluent product per se. So what is changing though is role of a broker. Like what our experience have been, what technology, the biggest impact technology is bringing is the role an agent plays. For us, for example, in our ecosystem, agent is no more responsible for bringing the client. Agent is no more responsible for the selling the various aspects of the product. All that happens digitally. Clients, there is a parallel consumer digital journey. Consumers are able to do comparative market analysis, understand what are the pros and cons of a particular micro market, particular product, compare that with each other. Role of broker has been limited to more of a concierge play, assisting the clients on the site visits, assisting them on documentation, which theoretically should also move digital over a period of time. So percentage of value chain, if a broker or a traditional offline broker possibly had 95% of the value chain in good old days, that percentage has come down to possibly 30 to 40% today. And which is what, to answer the first question you asked, which is what is creating the scale. Because once we are able to institutionalize this entire value chain, then effectively we are not dependent on who we are getting on board. It more to do with the digital infrastructure, training infrastructure, the process, the customer acquisition, so on and so forth. There are various models. So I think the core model, which I think 6 years back, everyone, I think most of the startups, prop tech startups in India aspired to be, was a search and discovery classified play. The disadvantage of that to running that model in isolation is that caters to only 10% of the value chain. The significant logistical issues that happen after the consumer has kind of shortlisted what they want to do. And it's also very different between a primary and a secondary market. Primary is a push product, secondary is a pull product. So that makes a difference. But even today we are talking about there are certain models, and talking about global examples, in India is still very, very nascent. We have only our kind of a model, tech-led brokerage. But if you go to US, you have a model called Open Door, where even the liquidation of the real estate assets is happening digitally, or trying to happen digitally, and has seen significant traction. Possible more in a matured market than a less transparent and opaque market like India. But as market evolves over the next 10 years, you would see significant plays happening even in the distribution space, not just the other value chain parts. it's a heterogeneous product. It's not a homogeneous product. Every micro market is different. Every product location is different. Every developer construction quality is different. Every view is different. Every floor plan is different. You go to auto sales, you buy insurance, even mortgage for that matter. These are all homogeneous products. So when there is a significant complexity between taking the entire value chain digital in a homogeneous versus a heterogeneous product, which is where that blend of the prop tech models or the blend of the offline online models will always exist. When we launched our digital consumer platform, from the transactional perspective, not the acquisition perspective, we realized almost 80% of our captive consumers were happy to participate in the value chain digitally. Now, when I say participate, that would mean even submitting their documentation for the potential mortgage approval, interactions on the potential products they want or they don't want, changing their RMs, so on and so forth. And which was a positive surprise, because when we had launched it, we thought initially that possibly NRI audience would do that more, and onshore clients would be less adaptable to that. But we were proven wrong, and this adoption is quite significant. In any case, there is a statistic that in any case 70% of the search and discovery it happens online for real estate in India. Obviously, then the transaction process gets lost somewhere. See, operating leverage, at least I'm talking about our sector, operating leverage is very, very high in the business. So I think like most of the startups, there is an eye on the market share, there is an eye on the revenue growth. That is what we have been chasing after. But to our surprise, last quarter we became profitable without focusing on that. So unit economics are strong, and more importantly, that operating leverage is very high, and which came in because of tech. We spent a major chunk of first couple of years, major chunk of capital, bandwidth, energy on the tech, developing these ERPs, agency processes, CRM, so on and so forth, to ensure that we are able to scale when the time comes. And that ensured that the impact on the positive impact on the profitability was significant. So I keep telling my colleagues all the time, when a traditional broker who is a two-person shop does not have significant marketing, does not have significant technology, is a cash flow positive guy because he runs his home. As a large corporate or a consumer company, we have no business being negative economics. And this is a profitable business. This is a profitable business, has been proven by multiple other models globally. So not just talking about the distribution space, VR, and I think VR is relatively still advanced. Something like a blockchain, I think early days, and so not a question of if rather than a question of when, would definitely impact the sector in a massive way. And I think it's the only way sector will become relatively more liquid, far more liquid than what it is today. I think we are probably at the very, very early evolution cycle of potentially a 10-year story in terms of how these technologies are adapted in the sector. See, capital in any case is we have always believed capital is a commodity. Capital will always be a commodity for good businesses. Purely from the sector perspective, I think that investment appetite is changing, has been changing over the last couple of years, specifically after RERA came in. So I think that gave much more confidence to investor in terms of potential consolidation, transparency in the sector. It's a very heavyweight sector globally in terms of the large private equity guys, not so much for India. Part of the reason is there had been a lot of dead bodies in the sector in the past few years. People have not made money. Let's be as honest as we can. Private equity has not made money in the sector. And for that appetite to significantly grow, they have to make money. They have to have few investments, exits, so on and so forth. Technology obviously led to significant scalability impact in the various global markets in the same space. We started to replicate pretty much the same thing, the Indianized version of the same thing in Indian scenario, where technology plays a critical role in certain parts of the value chain. Yes, certain parts remain offline, But what technology does is integrates the two extreme polarized parts which used to exist in isolation before. We had search and discovery platforms thriving in the country. We had very, very fragmented distribution, brokerages, small retail fragmented brokerages in the country. What technology does, what the integrated model does, is bring both of them together under the same roof and try and consolidate the entire real estate brokerage space.